Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Susie Chant, and I'm BC's Parliamentary Secretary for Senior Services and Long-Term Care. And before we begin this morning, I would like to acknowledge with respect the history, customs, and culture of the Lekwungen people, known today as the Songhees and Esquimalt nations, on whose traditional lands and home we meet today. It's great to see so many people here in support of today's announcement, and I'd like to take a moment to introduce our special guest today. David Eby, Premier of BC, Josie Osborne, Minister of Health, Rachel Smith-Taylor, nurse from the U.S. who is joining us today virtually, Louise Ertz, Acting Registrar and CEO in the BC College of Nurses and Midwives, Dr. Melissa Duff, Family Physician, Board Chair, Victoria Division of Family Practice. I also note that Minister Gibson and Mayor Alto are here in our group. So without further ado, I would like to invite Premier David Eby to the podium to make an exciting announcement. Thank you.
Thanks, Susie. It's great to see everybody, and really nice to see you, Mayor Alto, and congratulations to Victoria for such a beautiful clinic here, supporting so many people. Minister Osborne will be going into some detail about the clinic, but I just want to congratulate everyone who was involved in this. Doors opened about a year ago, and they provide critical team-based care supporting family physicians in delivering care to British Columbians. Really glad for the work that happens here. What I am going to speak to about, though, is something a little bit different. It's about how we get the doctors and nurses to be able to staff places like this, hospitals and healthcare sites across the province. And one of the big opportunities that we've seen is recruiting health professionals from the United States. The uncertainty that's currently present in the United States related to the Trump administration presents a significant opportunity for British Columbia in an array of areas to recruit Americans, but particularly in the healthcare sector. We believe that by recruiting American healthcare workers into our system, they're able to hit the ground running with their experience in a system that's very similar to ours, and they'll help us in our goal of delivering more care to more British Columbians faster. Now, some of the factors that are driving increased interest in British Columbia that we're seeing include, we believe, our commitment and our support for science and the evidence that science directs us to around everything from healthcare to climate change. That we are a jurisdiction that respects reproductive rights and acts to protect reproductive rights for British Columbians. And that we take care of people regardless of how much money they have through our universal public healthcare system. So these are proud and competitive advantages for us, and it is driving interest from American healthcare professionals. And we have some increased evidence for that. Just in early April, we made significant changes to how American-trained nurses are able to get to work in British Columbia, cutting the wait for nurses from up to 4 months to a matter of days being able to get to work here in the province. Since that early April implementation date, we have seen some significant impacts. Applications from U.S.-trained nurses to British Columbia are up 127%. 177 nurses have applied since the implementation of this new program, and 113 have been granted registrations already. Since March, just before the implementation of this new program, we've had 1,200 doctors, nurses, and allied health professionals that have expressed interest in working in British Columbia. They could be attending a webinar or accessing information about how to apply to work here. We're going to continue to ramp up these recruitment efforts, including direct ad campaigns down the west coast of the United States through Oregon, Washington, and select cities in California. Our goal is to ensure that we're not missing this opportunity, to ensure that we're strengthening our healthcare system for all British Columbians. This recent development in relation to nurses builds on work that we've already done to recruit internationally trained health professionals. We have recruited over 1,900 international medical graduates that have registered in the province between January 2023 to April 2025. And over 1,600 internationally educated nurses have registered from January 2023 to the end of last year. Over the last 2 years, we've added 1,000 new family doctors, connecting hundreds of thousands of British Columbians to the primary care that they need. And we know there's a lot more to do, but we also know that there's an opportunity here to really ensure that people get the care that they need. We're continuing our efforts to recruit and retain and train healthcare professionals, including at the new medical school at SFU Surrey. My message to Americans who are watching this is very straightforward. In British Columbia, you will be valued, your principles will be respected, and you will have the opportunity to provide care to people not based on how much they earn, but based on the level of care that they need. You will be part of building healthy communities in the best place on earth, and you are very welcome here. I say just briefly, President Trump's loss is British Columbia's gain. With that, I'm going to pass things back to Parliamentary Secretary Chant.
Thank you, Premier Eby. What an amazing way to commemorate National Nursing Week and International Nurses Day. As a registered nurse myself, I know the dedication and invaluable contributions that nurses bring to our healthcare system. And I'm thrilled to see that all the U.S. trained and certified nurses, nurse practitioners, doctors, and allied health workers that are interested in coming to British Columbia. Next, I'd like to invite Minister Josie Osborne to the podium.
Thank you so much, Susie. Thank you to everybody for having us in this beautiful space. It's great to see everybody out with us. And I totally agree with Susie. This is a terrific announcement to be talking about during National Nursing Week and International Nurses Day. So you've heard from Premier Eby about the progress that we've made even in this past month since April 4th. And it's so exciting to see. Streamlining the registration process is indeed going to help us strengthen our publicly funded healthcare system here in BC. And like Premier Eby said, what used to take, on average, 4 months is now done in just a few days. Having a US-based nurse come to British Columbia and receive the license to be able to practice here, it's a huge win for all of the nurses out there who've been dreaming of building a life here in BC, and it's a huge win for patients and communities across British Columbia as well. But it's not all. We are working closely with health authorities, with the regulatory colleges, with Health Match BC and other partners with a real Team BC approach to this. We're going to support U.S. trained healthcare providers through a dedicated set of webinars, a place where they can learn more about living and practicing in BC, the steps that people need to take to move here, to live here, to raise their families here, and be part of our public healthcare system. So we are guiding them step by step. And that means credentialing and immigration. And it's so important that they feel welcomed and supported in every step of that process. We're soon launching a marketing campaign, and we will be marketing in Washington and Oregon and California, letting people know about what the opportunities are here in BC. And this is just the kind of bold and solutions-based actions that our province is taking, and we're really proud to be leading the way. For the nurses who arrive here in British Columbia, the opportunities are just tremendous. They are able to care for patients throughout our province and in a really wide variety of settings. So whether it's a hospital or long-term care home or a health clinic. One example is where we're standing right now, and that's the Victoria Primary Care Network Allied Health Centre, a center which opened in this location on April 24th. It is a terrific example of our team-based primary care strategy, which we launched in 2018. For healthcare professionals here in Victoria who are part of the Victoria Primary Care Network, it means they are part of a team where they can use their skills to provide the highest level of care to people in the region. For patients, it means a more comprehensive and wraparound set of healthcare supports, better support for these people. It is very clear to us that U.S. professionals are looking for something better. And here in British Columbia, we are offering just that. So together, it's part of building a better healthcare future, and we can't wait for all the nurses out there to be a part of it. Thank you so much. Back to you, Susie.
Thank you so much, Minister Osborne. The Team BC approach that we've been taking is so important, because it leverages the expertise of everyone so we can better support the healthcare workers who've made the decision to move over here. Nurses will be supported from licensing through immigration and recruitment. Thank you to Premier Eby and Minister Osborne for their leadership in these bold efforts. To talk a little bit more from a nurse's perspective, we have Rachel Smith-Taylor joining us from the U.S. via Zoom.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to share my experience. Recently, I had the pleasure of visiting Nanaimo, British Columbia, where I was deeply moved by the community's warmth and hospitality. From the moment we arrived, locals eagerly welcomed us, offering to show us around, showing us sights about the area, and even providing rides to me and my partner while we were there. The staff at Nanaimo Regional General Hospital were equally gracious, offering us informed tours and sharing their dedication to their patient care. The experience reinforced my aspiration to contribute to Canada's healthcare system as a registered nurse. And as an internationally educated nurse from the United States, I'm actively pursuing licensure through the British Columbia College of Nurses and Midwives. I'm encouraged by the province's initiatives to streamline this process, including the financial support for credentialing assessments and bridging programs. My goal is to bring skills and dedication to British Columbia's healthcare sector, supporting communities like Nanaimo, and I look forward to the opportunity to serve and grow within Canada's dynamic healthcare environment. And I am deeply blessed to have had this opportunity to share my experience with you all.
Thank you so much, Rachel. I'm so happy to see your excitement to come and work in our province. Next, I'd like to invite Louise Ertz to the podium.
Thank you, Parliamentary Secretary, and thank you to Minister Osborne for inviting me to this great event. It's also wonderful to have Premier Eby with us today. I'd like to begin by respectfully acknowledging the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Algonquin people, known today as the Esquimalt and Songhees nations. I give thanks to this territory and recognize that the laws, governance, and medicines of these lands and waters have existed here for over 9,000 years. As a representative for a provincial regulator, I also acknowledge and affirm the inherent rights to health and wellness held by all First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. BCCNM has worked collaboratively with the government and other partners for several years now to improve the application process for internationally educated nurses. It's a complex process, but in this case, a simple solution has created a big impact. By focusing on the similarities between nursing in Canada and the US, things like education, scope of practice, regulatory exams, and by leveraging an existing system, we've streamlined the application process for American nurses without sacrificing patient safety. Before this, we needed other nursing regulators and credentialing agencies to confirm a U.S. nurse's registration history and education, which often resulted in delays. But through collaboration with our U.S. counterparts, we can now confirm this information through Nurses, a licensure database that gives us the information we need when we need it. This change has expedited registration decisions, as has been shared, but maintains the safeguards to ensure that a nurse can practice safely and competently in BC. It's a win for applicants and for British Columbia. I'd like to thank the Ministry for their partnership in this important work, and we look forward to continuing to collaborate, ensuring we have a strong, competent nursing workforce in BC.
Thank you so much, Louise. And thank you to the BC College of Nurses and Midwives for making it easier and faster for registered nurses trained and certified in the U.S. to come to our beautiful province. This is very important work, and I'm happy to hear that it's already bringing results. Next, I would like to invite Dr. Melissa Duff to speak about this great place where we are today, the Victoria Primary Care Network Allied Health Centre.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Victoria Division of Family Practice Board, I'm excited to see the upgraded Victoria Primary Care Network Allied Health Centre fully operational. This is more than just a building, it's a game changer. It secures and expands access to culturally sensitive, patient-centered, team-based care for years to come, And that matters a lot for two key reasons. First, physician-led team-based care is the future for better patient health outcomes. It helps more patients get the support they need more quickly from the clinician best equipped to help. And second, team-based care increases the number of family physicians in our community. It allows family doctors to focus on what we do best, delivering high-quality, relationship-based medical care. This kind of work setting attracts new family doctors, and most importantly, it helps them stay. This upgraded center expands access to team-based care by accommodating and attracting the allied health professionals we need on the Victoria Primary Care Network team. It's a big win for patients, physicians, clinicians, and our entire community. We're deeply grateful to everyone who helped bring our shared vision of sustainable team-based care to life. This milestone is a testament to the power of physician-led innovation within a strong community of practice, all made possible through meaningful partnerships and trusted community relationships. We look forward to continuing to work together to advance primary care in Victoria. Thank you.
Absolutely. Wonderful applause, and thank you, Dr. Duff. And thank you so much for hosting us in this beautiful health centre. The expanded Allied Health Centre strengthens team-based care and is tailored to the needs of the community. This is a win for our medical professionals who can do the job that they are best trained for, and for the patients in their communities. Thank you to everyone for joining us today, and Premier Eby and Minister Osborne will now take questions.
Thank you to everyone for joining us today. Just a reminder to all reporters on the line to press *1 to enter the queue. We're going to start with one question and one follow-up from reporters in the room. Richard Sussman, Global News.
Premier, you've mentioned the number of people who have shown interest in coming to British Columbia. Do you have any numbers on exactly how many Americans have been hired so far to work in our system? And have there been any concerns raised about salary matching? A lot's been made that in the U.S. healthcare system, a for-profit system, that doctors and nurses can often make more money than they would make here, especially with the dollar. Have there been any concerns raised around ensuring that you can find a salary that works?
Thanks, Richard. Do we have someone that has those specific numbers on the... Okay, we'll have to get you the specific numbers, Richard, on the number of Americans in the system. The numbers that we have are for people who have applied to be able to practice here since the big changes in April, which I've indicated are up 127% over previous numbers. The overall interest that we're seeing from Americans coming to practice in British Columbia is the ability to practice in a universal healthcare system, the ability to match lifestyle that they're looking for in more rural communities, often an outdoor lifestyle. When I was in Grand Forks, one of the big attractors for healthcare workers to come to work in Grand Forks was mountain biking, for example, and skiing and other types of lifestyle attractions here in British Columbia. And so what we're seeing is Americans making that decision about how to balance the life that they want to live and where they want to live with the work that they do and the impact they have in community. And for many Americans, the balance is coming up that they want to move to British Columbia.
Richard, do you have a follow-up?
Prime Minister Carney will be unveiling a cabinet tomorrow morning. He's probably already made his selections, but if you were to give him advice, what would you like to see on behalf of British Columbians?
Well, it's certainly an important and critical job of the Prime Minister to choose a cabinet that's going to advance his agenda. For British Columbia's agenda, what we see is that our province has the capacity to be the economic engine for Canada, for the vision that the Prime Minister has of a Canada that stands on our own 2 feet, that's less dependent on the United States. You know, our ports face 2/3 of the world's population. We have the critical minerals, we have the energy that can really drive this. We have the cheap electricity and the clean, low-carbon products the world is looking for, and we have amazing people here. The critical piece for us is that there are cabinet ministers around the table who understand that, who are coming from British Columbia, who understand both the challenges and the opportunities that this province represents, and will enable the Prime Minister to realize his vision by seeing and understanding how critical British Columbia is to that vision of Canada.
Katie DeRosa, CBC.
You said the registration process is now down to 4 days, but what's the timeline for when those nurses and doctors would actually arrive? And why does the press release largely focuses on the number of nurses, but is it not the same for physicians? It seemed like there's less focus on physicians. So are you having less traction on that side?
Yeah, well, today's announcement is about the work that we've done with the College of Nurses and Midwives to be able to accelerate that process for registered nurses and other types of nurses in the province. And work that they've done around triple tracking, so you can be assessed about being a registered nurse and an LPN and a healthcare assistant, assist with international nurses. But the work that's really showing the traction is this fast tracking around Americans because of the very similar system. We're doing similar work with the College of Physicians and Surgeons. We're going to have more to share about that work that we've been doing with the college, separate from today's announcement. I don't know if the minister has anything specific she wants to add about that. In terms of, I don't know if our representative from the college has anything to share about the actual experience of nurses coming up and when they get to work versus when they register. I don't know if you're able to. Okay. I mean, it really once you're registered, you're able to practice here in British Columbia. And so that just means the only decisions you have to make is where you're going to work and how to get yourself and your family up here as quickly as possible, please.
And so is there a possibility to talk to Rachel, or is she gone?
I don't know. Okay. There is a possibility. Rachel, are you there?
Okay.
Are you there?
Okay.
I am,
So
sir.
guess, okay, a two-part question. First, for the province, is there any preference, like when a nurse or doctor is able to work here, are you sending them to, say, rural communities, or are you directing them to certain areas, or is that fully up to them? And for Rachel, do you know how quickly you're able to come here? What's the whole total timeline of, say, applying to actually moving here?
First, Rachel, and I'll give you time to prepare. So in terms of what we're sharing with nurses and other health professionals is we're trying to share a variety of health environments, rural communities, underserved communities, acute care environments, long-term care. We're trying to be informed about what the nurse's own interests are in terms of practice, as well as the lifestyle that the nurse is looking for. Is it a more urban environment? Is it a smaller community? We're trying to really underline a lifestyle and a job that's supportive of the nurse's own vision for what that nurse would like to do. And I'll pass it over to an actual nurse that actually is going through this process to share her experience.
Thank you. For myself and our timeline, it's going to be the logistics right now are quite hairy. We still have children in school. So those logistics are just going to have to pan out as they come day by day. Have we thought about me moving before the family moves? Absolutely. But we have no timeline per se right now. But just since our trip to Nanaimo at the end of April, all of the opportunities just keep falling into our laps. So we have a lot to think about. And it's not only myself, but my partner is also a nurse. So we have a lot to think about. We're about to be empty nesters. And so the opportunities are endless.
Rob Buffum, CTV News.
I just wanted to follow up on the idea that it does set out clearly there's been 177 nurses apply, and I think it was 113 that have been accepted to the program. But the doctor situation, as Richard pointed out, was announced at the same time or earlier. Is it fair to assume that you're not having the same success attracting U.S. doctors? And can you also, I guess, specifically respond to concerns about matching the salary is going to be very difficult for Canada to do. So the mountain biking and skiing is obviously a valuable thing, but is not salary going to be a big impediment to attracting physicians to BC?
You know, I can understand how you would get there as a hard-nosed journalist, Rob, but it's not correct to assume that because today's announcement is about nurses that there hasn't been good progress made on doctors. We'll have more to share about that coming forward. It's a separate college. It's a separate process, and we're taking a similar approach given the success we've had on nurses around fast tracking from specific jurisdictions, but we'll have more to share about that in future. We had over 1,600 international educated nurses registered from January 2023 to the end of last year. And the remarkable number of American nurses, the impact we've seen of being able to say, look, you're able to be registered in a matter of days now and be able to come to work in British Columbia has been very significant. And we expect that with advertising that we'll see those numbers climb even more. We've had good success. I met with a doctor and his wife, 2 family doctors who are practicing on the North Shore. So we're seeing attraction across a variety of categories, but today's announcement is about the remarkable explosion of interest that we're seeing from Americans who are interested in coming to practice as nurses in British Columbia.
Just wondering.
Oh, sorry, the Health Minister would like to add something.
Thanks. I'll add even just a little more there. Like the Premier said, it was just a couple of months ago where we made the announcement about the work that we're doing with the College of Physicians and Surgeons on some bylaw changes that they will be making, amendments that will help to increase the speed with which U.S. physicians can be licensed. But the response to our announcement that we are actively recruiting in the U.S. has been absolutely phenomenal. We haven't even put an ad out in the market yet, and we've had over 1,200 inquiries. So what's really important is that those people who inquire, they go to bchealthcareers.ca. They're matched with a person who will help them with all of the questions they have around immigration, around job opportunities, around the licensing process, whether they're a physician or a nurse practitioner. We have webinars coming up. Tomorrow is the first one. So for any nurse or physician out there who's listening right now, get to that website and sign up for a webinar on May 13th or 14th. What we are hearing from people who are asking questions about living in British Columbia is that the values match is here. Not only is British Columbia a phenomenal place to live and raise a family, and you've heard it from Rachel about visiting Nanaimo, my hometown too, and about how phenomenal it is and how welcomed she felt. But also what we're hearing is that with the changes that we've made in family physician payment models, for example, that salaries are actually quite comparable for family physicians, for example, and that people understand we have a single payer system here in British Columbia. That's a lot less paperwork for a physician to undertake. And that means, again, it's a more attractive place to live. We are working with these people too through our provincial nominee program on the immigration process. We are helping to fast track people by dedicating spots through our provincial nomination process, working with Immigration Canada to ensure that we're attracting the doctors and nurses and allied healthcare workers that we need here. And then the last thing I'll add is just, again, the team-based care environment that we're providing here in British Columbia, that we're standing in right here today, is another reason why we're hearing from physicians and nurses and others that they want to be here in British Columbia.
Yeah, I just wondered, Premier, the marketing campaign that's going to be rolled out targets 3 blue states, and you mentioned Trump initially. How much is the marketing going to be pretty explicit about, hey, if you don't like the Trump administration, what it stands for and what it's doing, come to BC?
So the marketing content is really meant to encourage, in a positive way, healthcare workers to consider British Columbia as a place to practice. It's targeting markets where we know there's interest, where we're seeing requests disproportionately from healthcare workers, and we're going to continue to recruit actively in those markets. You'll recall that we did a similar outreach in the United Kingdom to healthcare workers, which showed good success, and so we're going to continue that work.
Alec Lazenby, Vancouver Sun.
Hi, Premier. I was just wondering about the cost of running the ad campaign. I know your government launched one for the UK and Ireland last year. What's going to be the cost of running this ad campaign down in those states? And I know you're targeting those 3 states, but are you going to be targeting other places as well in terms of interest from doctors and nurses and maybe red states that also want to come to BC?
Sure. I'll take some of that, Alec, and then I'll pass it off to the Health Minister. In terms of the attraction we think we offer to American healthcare professionals generally, I think that when you see somebody who is a known anti-vaxxer running the health care system in the United States, RFK, when you see a federal government attacking reproductive rights for patients that you want to provide healthcare to, but you're not able to, when you see a healthcare system that is not only not providing care to everybody that needs it because some people can't afford it, but actively looking at reducing the amount of care that's already existent in those states, you can really see the impact of those political decisions on the decision to want to look to work somewhere else, even if you're coming from a blue state, because the whole country is impacted by this. And I would say, too, it underlines the risk of the conservative approach here in British Columbia to healthcare. When your health critic is at an event praising that anti-vax health administrator, RFK Jr. in the United States, which Anna Kennedy did recently, when you have MLAs that are consorting with and promoting anti-choice groups in the Legislative Assembly, when you are suggesting that our public health official, Bonnie Henry, should be put on a Nuremberg-style trial, these kinds of decisions have consequences in terms of the ability to attract and retain healthcare professionals. And so we are a stable place here in British Columbia for healthcare professionals to work. We are a welcoming place for healthcare professionals to work. And for those who want to take us down the path of the U.S., specifically these conservative MLAs and the leader of that party, John Rustad, they really need to think twice about what that means about the level of care we'll be able to offer here in British Columbia.
On the subject of the cost of the campaign going into the States, while I can't give you a final number today, I can tell you that we are taking a Team BC approach here too, and that we've had hospital and health foundations, conversations with unions about sharing the cost of this, and that every dollar will be worth it because of the number of physicians and nurses that we're going to be able to attract and bring here to British Columbia. And I'll also add that we really rely on our community partners at the local government or regional hospital district level as well. And there are already a number of communities in British Columbia that are putting their own investments into helping to attract physicians and nurses, that are helping to land them and settle them and answer the questions that they have in those communities. It takes all of us to do this work, and we're going to take that Team BC approach to do it together.
Thank you. And for our last question, we're going to go to Justine Hunter, the Globe and Mail.
Hi, Premier. I've got a question for a colleague, and it relates to the accused in the Lapu-Lapu attack. I'm wondering if you have an understanding or an explanation for why the accused made all those frequent calls to the police, but that didn't seem to result in a higher level of care in the weeks prior. Have you been given any understanding of why that is?
Well, I think there are a lot of questions that British Columbians have about the interactions that the accused has in the Lapu-Lapu, the events the tragic events, the murders that took place after the Lapu-Lapu festival. I have questions. British Columbians have questions. Vancouver Coastal Health has said, compliant with his medications, no indication of violence. These are disconnected from the reality, certainly that we saw in terms of this individual's actions. So those questions are going to get asked through the criminal justice system process, through the trial, through whatever plays out on the criminal justice side. To the extent that there are not answers for British Columbians through that process, we've committed to a full public inquiry into those issues. What were this individual's interactions with the system? Was there an opportunity to intervene earlier without assuming that the individuals involved in this person's care did anything wrong? And I really want to underline for people the importance of not jumping to that conclusion. These questions will be asked at least once, maybe twice, tested under cross-examination, and we'll make the conclusions from that as a province and ensure that we act accordingly. It'll be a long process. We can't do the public inquiry while the criminal process is underway, but as soon as we have the opportunity to get those answers, we will.
Thank you. That concludes today's event.
Thank you.